Walk into a small bookstore and you'll feel it instantly. The quiet atmosphere, the smell of paper, the rows of carefully arranged books waiting to be discovered. For readers, it's a dream, but for owners, it's a business. And in an age of Amazon, e-books, and big box retailers, the question is obvious: can a small bookstore still make good money? Today, we're going to explore the numbers behind running a bookstore, startup costs, daily expenses, revenue streams, margins, challenges, and the lifestyle of owners who keep these shops alive. Why bookstores still exist. Despite the dominance of online retailers, small bookstores haven't disappeared. In fact, many communities have seen a resurgence of independent bookstores over the last decade. People crave local connection, curated selections, and the experience of browsing shelves. Bookstores also benefit from cultural credibility. They feel authentic, intellectual, and community-driven. This emotional attachment means customers are often willing to pay a little more to support them. That support, combined with smart business models, is why bookstores still survive. Startup costs. Opening a bookstore requires careful investment. Rent for a storefront in a decent location can range from $2,000 to $10,000 per month, depending on city size. Renovating the space, building shelves, buying furniture, and creating an inviting atmosphere may cost $20,000 to $50,000. The biggest expense is initial inventory. To open with a respectable selection, you'll likely need $50,000 to $100,000 worth of books. Add in point of sale systems, signage, insurance, and licenses, and the startup bill easily hits $100,000 to $200,000. It's not cheap, but the investment sets the foundation for a professional, sustainable store. Monthly operating expenses. Once the bookstore opens, ongoing expenses determine survival. Rent and utilities make up the bulk, often $4,000 and $12,000 depending on location. Payroll for staff adds $5,000 to $10,000 if you aren't running it alone. Inventory restocking requires $10,000 to $20,000 monthly to keep new releases and popular titles available. Marketing, events, insurance, and software add another $4,000 to $3,000. Altogether, most small bookstores face monthly operating expenses of $20,000 to $35,000. Breaking even requires consistent sales volume, which is where strategy becomes critical. How bookstores make money. The main revenue stream is, of course, book sales. But most independent bookstores cannot survive on books alone. Margins on new books are thin, usually around 40% of retail price. Sell a 20 book, and you might keep 8 before overhead. To stay profitable, bookstores expand into other areas. Many sell stationery, gifts, puzzles, and literary merchandise. Some add cafes, which boost both revenue and customer time in store. Hosting author events, book clubs, and writing workshops brings in both direct sales and loyal customers. Successful bookstores treat themselves as cultural hubs, not just retail outlets. Pricing and margins vary depending on the product. New books usually provide 35% 45% margin. Used books often yield higher margins, since they can be sourced cheaply and resold for 50% 70% profit. Gifts and stationery typically bring margins of 50% 60%. Cafe operations may yield 60% 70% on drinks, though labor and equipment costs cut into that. The trick is to balance low-margin items like new books with high-margin extras. A customer who buys a 20 book and a 10 mug provides much more profit than one who just buys a book. Average revenue. So what does revenue look like? A small bookstore in a quiet town might generate a $15,000 to $25,000 in monthly sales. A mid-sized shop in a city with steady foot traffic could bring in $40,000 to $60,000. Larger independents with cafes and events may earn $80,000 to $120,000 monthly. The wide range depends on location, customer base, and how well the owner diversifies revenue. For most small stores, hitting $500,000 in annual revenue is considered strong. Profit margins after expenses. What's left? Independent bookstores often operate with net profit margins of just 2% 8%. That means a store bringing in $500,000 annually might only keep $10,000 $40,000 in profit. Well-run stores with diversified revenue can push margins closer to 10% 20%. While that's lower than some retail industries, the stability of demand and the loyalty of book buyers make it sustainable. Owners who control costs, negotiate better supplier terms, and run community-focused programs usually see the best results. Profit breakdown. Imagine a mid-sized bookstore that earns $50,000 in monthly sales. Expenses might look like this: rent and utilities, $8,000, payroll, $6,000, inventory restock at $20,000, marketing and events, $2,000, insurance and MIS. That's a $38,000 in expenses. With gross margins around 40%, cost of goods sold would be about $30,000. After subtracting everything, the store nets roughly $4,000, $6,000 profit per month, or $50,000, $70,000 annually. Not massive, but respectable for a small independent business. The role of used books. Used books are often the secret weapon of profitability. They cost little to acquire, sometimes just donations or bulk buys, and can sell at healthy margins. A book bought for $1 at a yard sale could sell for $8 in store. Many successful small bookstores dedicate a large section to used titles, which attracts bargain hunters and boosts profits. The mix of new and used also broadens the customer base, making the store appealing to both casual readers and collectors. Events and community engagement. Events are vital for driving sales and loyalty. Author signings, poetry readings, book launches, and kids' story hours all bring people through the door. While events may not always be huge profit drivers directly, they build the brand and keep the store at the center of community life. Some stores charge for workshops or ticketed talks, adding revenue. Others use events as marketing to boost book and gift sales on the side. A well-run calendar of events can mean the difference between surviving and thriving. Online sales to compete with big players. Many bookstores now add e-commerce. Selling rare, collectible, or signed books online expands the customer base beyond local foot traffic. Platforms like Shopify or even marketplaces like eBay and eBooks help independent stores capture extra revenue. Online sales may not surpass in-store revenue, but they provide a steady supplement and hedge against slow foot traffic. Some stores even run subscription boxes, sending curated books to loyal customers monthly. Seasonal trends. Bookstores see seasonal spikes. Holiday season is huge, as books are popular gifts. Back-to-school periods also drive textbook and study guide sales. Summer often brings higher sales of travel books and light reading. January and February can be slower, requiring creative promotions to keep revenue flowing. Planning for these seasonal shifts. Stocking up before holidays, running discounts in slow months, helps balance cash flow. Risks and challenges. Running a small bookstore isn't easy. Online giants like Amazon offer lower prices and faster delivery, which makes competing tough. Rent and payroll can overwhelm profits if sales aren't strong. Inventory risk is real. Unsold books tie up capital and take up space. Cash flow is often tight, especially for owners who overstock. Finally, margins are slim, meaning mistakes can wipe out profits quickly. Surviving requires discipline, creativity, and an ability to connect deeply with customers. Lifestyle of a bookstore owner. The lifestyle is unique. Owners spend much of their day on the floor, talking to customers, curating shelves, and hosting events. Evenings may involve bookkeeping, ordering inventory, and planning marketing campaigns. Income isn't sky high compared to other businesses, but many owners value the community role and personal fulfillment. For book lovers, it feels less like a job and more like a mission. Profits support a modest but comfortable lifestyle, especially for those who own their property outright. Scaling the business. Scaling a bookstore is possible, but requires smart moves. Some owners open multiple locations, often in college towns or urban neighborhoods. Others diversify into cafes, online subscription services, or partnerships with schools and libraries. Growth is challenging in such a tight margin industry, but those who scale effectively can push earnings well into six figures annually. The key is diversification, not relying solely on book sales. Long-term value. Even if annual profits aren't huge, bookstores can create long-term value. Owners build equity if they purchase their storefront, and some eventually sell the business for a healthy sum. A bookstore with a strong reputation, loyal customer base, and community presence is worth something far beyond its annual income. For many, the business provides a mix of modest profits, stable cash flow, and valuable real estate. Is it worth it? So, can a small bookstore still make good money? The answer is yes, if expectations are realistic and the owner is creative. Profits may not rival tech startups or big franchises, but a well-run store can generate $50,000, $100,000 in annual profit, plus long-term equity. The business is demanding, but for those who love books and community, It's both financially viable and emotionally rewarding. The key is to blend tradition with innovation, selling books, but also selling an experience that online giants can't replicate. The truth is that small bookstores still make money, just not in the same way as massive retailers. Their real profit lies in combining financial returns with cultural significance, proving that passion and smart business can still go hand in hand.